Friday morning, January 9, 2026, a hypersonic object appears in the Ukrainian sky, traveling at 10 times the speed of sound, 13,000 kilometers per hour. Oreshnik, the most sophisticated weapon in the Russian war machine, capable of carrying a nuclear warhead, a terror that renders any defense shield ineffective. The missile hits the Lviv area, only 70 kilometers from the Polish border, less than an hour's distance from NATO territory. Moscow is drunk with joy. Russian state channels are ringing with cries of victory. Military analysts in studios. This is the turning point of the war. Ukraine is finished. NATO is powerless. No one can stop this missile. The Kremlin's message is clear. See what we can do. See how far we can reach. Your Patriot batteries are not enough. Your THAADs are not enough. None of your equipment is enough. But while Moscow was making noise with its cries of joy, Ukraine remained silent. No press briefing. No exaggerated statements. No threats of retaliation. Only silence. Because Ukraine had already begun to weave its plan. Military strategists were preparing long-range drones at secret locations. Flight routes were being calculated. The targets were clear. They were not military installations. They were not troop concentrations. Ukraine was determined to strike a far more critical artery, Russia's economic heartbeat. Just 24 hours, one single day, immediately following Russia's technological show of force. Saturday morning, January 10, 2026, dawn, Ukrainian UAVs penetrate Russian airspace. They glide at low altitude, slowly, quiet enough to evade radar networks. These are not complex hypersonic systems. They are modified versions of commercial UAVs, the kind that can be purchased online. They are equipped with explosive payloads and long-range capabilities. However, what they lack technologically, they more than make up for operationally. The target, the Zhytovskaya oil complex in the Volgograd region, located in the Oktyabrskaya district in southwestern Russia. This is no random choice. Oil sales are Russia's main source of income. Every barrel sold fuels this conflict. Every tanker loaded keeps the Russian military operation alive. Every depot destroyed breaks Moscow's power to continue this invasion. Ukraine has been methodically targeting these structures for months. It is the most effective form of economic warfare. The first UAV pierces one of the storage reservoirs. The explosion is sudden and immense. Flames shoot hundreds of meters into the sky. The heat is so intense that it ignites neighboring reservoirs. A chain reaction. Within minutes, the entire complex is engulfed in flames. Thick black smoke rises into the sky. It is visible from miles away. Regional Governor Andrei Volgograd confirms the attack through official channels, but his statement is carefully crafted, word by word. There is no specific damage assessment, no casualty statistics, only an admission that residents near the depot may need to be evacuated. This cautious rhetoric tells you everything. The damage is too serious to cover up, but also too embarrassing to elaborate on. Russia fires hypersonic missiles worth millions of dollars. Ukraine sends drones worth a few $1,000s. But what about the strategic impact? Ukraine's strike could go much deeper. Now let's pause and look at this contradiction. Russia has just used one of the most sophisticated weapons ever produced, the Oreshnik missile. Its production cost runs into tens of millions of dollars. It requires years of R&D, complex manufacturing stages, limited inventory. Each launch is a critical military decision. Putin first used this missile in November 2024 against Dnipro. This is the second time it is a weapon designed for deterrence. Let's look at the technical details. Oreshnik carries 6 warheads. Each contains 6 sub-munitions. This means 36 angels of death falling from the sky from a single missile. Mir-V technology, multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicle. It is launched into space, breaks apart there, and then each warhead can destroy a separate target. Oreshnik, meaning hazelnut tree, got its name from the multiple warheads falling in the form of fiery light trails. Ukraine's response, modified commercial UAVs. Multi-UAV, 2,000-kilometer range, estimated cost $5,000. FP-1 UAV, 1,500-kilometer range, responsible for 60% of deep operations. Flamingo cruise missile, 3,000-kilometer range, cost $500,000, 1/4 of the American Tomahawk. And Ukraine is producing 2 to 3 per day. It aims to increase this to 7 per day by early 2026. Mass production, easily replaceable. Dozens can be launched, and it finds Russia's weak spot. Ukraine doesn't need to match Oreshnik. All it has to do is keep burning oil depots. This is the definition of asymmetric warfare. You don't fight where the enemy is strong. You find their vulnerable side. You strike there again, and again, and again. Russia has to protect hundreds of targets within a radius of thousands of kilometers. Ukraine only needs to get through once. And when it does, the economic damage multiplies. The cost equation is against Russia. One Oreshnik missile, $10 million. 10 Ukrainian UAVs, $50,000. Repair costs, months. Lost revenue, billions of dollars. Mathematically, Russia cannot win this race. Insurance rates are rising. Buyers are getting nervous. Exports are being disrupted. The economic ripple effect is spreading beyond the damage. This Volgograd strike is not isolated. It is part of a continuous campaign. If you were in their shoes, would you prefer a single $10 million missile or thousands of $5,000 drones that can be launched by the hundreds every night? In recent months, Ukrainian UAVs have targeted oil depots, refineries, and storage complexes across southern and western Russia. Each attack has been meticulously planned. Each target has been strategically selected. Russia is struggling to respond effectively. Air defenses designed to neutralize fighter jets and missiles are not optimized for slow, low-flying drones. The depots are numerous and widely scattered. The numbers speak for themselves. By 2025, Ukraine had disabled 10 to 20% of Russia's refining capacity. 16 of 38 refineries were hit. According to Bloomberg and industry sources, this resulted in a daily production loss of over 1 million barrels. The Hypersonic refinery in the Volgograd region was attacked 6 times by mid-December. The Sizran refinery was hit in February. Repairs were almost complete, and it was hit again in March. Repairs have been reduced to zero. These repeated strikes are actually very critical because the intervals between attacks have fallen from months to weeks. It renders repair efforts ineffective and leaves facilities idle for long periods. It creates a cumulative effect. Increasing damage extends repair times and forces operators to resort to temporary measures that reduce fuel quality. According to IEA analysis, the impact of Ukraine's UAV attacks will keep Russia's refinery processing rates under pressure until at least mid-2026. Structural damage, because Russia's refineries are disconnected from Western technology. Replacing or repairing damaged parts takes longer. Pre-installed equipment needs to be cannibalized. Russia does not have sufficient air defense systems to defend all its critical infrastructure. Between August and September, according to Ciala agency calculations, 38% of Russia's primary refining capacity, approximately 338,000 tons per day, was offline. 70% of the outages were linked to Ukrainian UAV attacks. Tatiana Matrova from Columbia University, 10% is not surprising, but it's a figure felt by the Russian domestic fuel crisis, declining exports, and tensions in the oil sector. Every barrel that burns is lost revenue. Every tanker that doesn't fill up is a shipment that can't be sold. Every destroyed storage facility means months of rebuilding. Ukraine cannot militarily overcome Russia, but it can make this war economically unsustainable, wearing down Russia with thousands of drone attacks, each one small, collectively devastating. Russia's oil exports generated over 850 billion euros in revenue, several times more than the aid offered by Ukraine's allies. Every refinery that burns cuts off this revenue stream. Every disruption slows down the Kremlin's war machine. This is modern warfare, not territorial occupation, but systemic disintegration. Not major battles, but making the enemy's war effort unsustainable. Russia did not deploy the Oreshnik missile solely to strike Ukraine. The timing is critical. This attack occurred immediately after reports of significant progress on security guarantees, following a peace agreement between Ukraine and NATO allies. Russia's message with Oreshnik was not directed at Kiev. It was directed at Washington, Brussels, and every NATO capital. Your security guarantees are empty. We possess weapons you cannot defend against. Any protection you offer Ukraine is a fantasy, psychological warfare on the geopolitical plane. Russia wants NATO to think twice before committing to Ukraine's long-term defense. They expect Western capitals to question whether they really want to face an enemy with nuclear capabilities and unstoppable delivery systems. But here's where Moscow could miscalculate. NATO doesn't need to match Russia's hypersonic capabilities. It is sufficient for Ukraine to continue supporting its capacity to make this conflict prohibitively costly for Russia. And drone attacks on oil infrastructure are doing exactly that. EU High Representative for Foreign Policy Kaja Kallas described the attack as a clear escalation and a warning to Europe and the US. Putin does not want peace. Russia's response to diplomacy is more missiles and destruction. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha said such an attack so close to the EU and NATO line is a serious threat to the security of the European continent. Think about it. Was Putin right when he told NATO, "You can't stop us"? Or did Ukraine tell him, "We can bankrupt you"? Friday's attack was not limited to hypersonic missiles. Russia launched a full-scale bombardment, 242 UAVs, 36 missiles, 8 Iskander ballistic missiles, 10 caliber cruise missiles, targeting cities and infrastructure across Ukraine. According to official records, Ukrainian air defenses shot down 94 UAVs, but dozens got through. At least 4 deaths were confirmed in Kiev alone. More casualties were likely not reported. Several districts in Kiev were affected. In the Desnyansky district, a UAV hit the roof of a multi-story building. The first 2 floors of a residential block in the same district were damaged. In the Dnipro district, UAV debris damaged a multi-story building and caused a fire. As a result of the attack, drinking water and electricity were cut off in some parts of the city. Russia struck again throughout the night into Saturday. Another 121 UAVs and 1 Iskander ballistic missile. Ukrainian air defenses are operating day and night. Cities are under constant threat. The sound of sirens pierces the night silence. Families rush to shelters. Children are awakened. The elderly struggle down the stairs. This is the reality for Ukrainians. Every night, for almost 4 years now, Russia's strategy of weaponizing winter is clear. Ukrainian officials have stated this explicitly: to destroy the power grid, to leave civilians without heat, light, or running water during the coldest months, to force people to flee, to demoralize civilians, to turn the season into a weapon of war. Kyiv's power grid was shut down Saturday for repairs. Water and heating distribution systems, as well as electric public transportation, also stopped. The administration did not share information on how long the systems would remain shut down. In the midst of severe cold weather, UN Secretary-General spokesman Stefan Dujarric said Friday's attacks caused significant civilian casualties and deprived millions of Ukrainians of basic services such as electricity, heating, and water. In Kyiv, a mother wraps her baby in the dark. University student Dmytro Karpenko's home windows were shattered in the attack. He rushed to help when he saw his neighbor's house on fire. Karpenko, 45, said Russia's actions prove they don't want peace, but people really want peace. People are suffering. People are dying. A worker in Volgograd watches a burning oil depot. 2 different cities, but victims of the same war. 2 different families, but the same fear. When Ukraine strikes an oil depot, it is not just targeting infrastructure. It is returning in kind what Russia has done to them. Energy for energy, economy for economy, survival for survival. Russia is striking energy centers. Ukraine is doing the same. This is not aggression. It is survival. It is transferring the war to the aggressor's territory. It is making Russians experience what Ukrainians experience every day. It is holding up a mirror. The Ukrainian Unmanned Systems Forces announced their targets for 2026. They plan to destroy 50,000, 60,000 targets per month. Over the course of a year, this is equivalent to nearly half of Russia's entire army. In December 2025 alone, 106,859 targets were hit by Ukrainian UAVs. This is a 31% increase compared to November. According to IEA projections, the impact of Ukrainian UAV attacks will suppress Russia's refinery processing rates until at least mid-2026. This campaign continues to gain momentum. More than 25 such operations were carried out in August and September. The frequency has increased from 2 to 3 per week to 4 to 5. Daily attacks are expected soon. The Trump administration is changing its stance. According to the Wall Street Journal, Trump has agreed to expand intelligence sharing with Ukraine to focus on Russian energy complexes. They report that they are reviewing Ukraine's request for Tomahawk missiles. No decision has been made yet, but the signs are changing. Peace negotiations continue, but the real action is on the battlefield. Every night another oil depot. Every day Ukraine sits stronger. Every attack costs Russia more. The economic math is against Moscow. In World War II, the Allies bombed Nazi Germany's oil refineries. 80 years later, Ukraine is executing the same strategy with drones. History isn't repeating itself, but it's rhyming. Is Ukraine using every night, every oil depot operation to sit stronger at the peace table one more day? Or is it asking Russia, how long before your economy collapses? A hypersonic missile is unstoppable. That is a fact. Patriot systems cannot neutralize it. THAAD systems cannot neutralize it. No existing air defense can intercept an object traveling at Mach 10. Russia possesses this technological superiority, but an army with a collapsing economy is unsustainable. Tanks that run out of fuel cannot move. Units that run out of ammunition cannot fight. A regime that cannot pay cannot keep its soldiers in the fight. Ukraine is proving something to Russia. Technology does not win wars. Sustainability does. You can possess the most sophisticated weapons in the world, but if you cannot finance their production, fuel the vehicles that carry them, or pay the soldiers who use them, you will lose. Each hypersonic missile costs millions of dollars. Each oil depot that burns costs billions in lost revenue. The math is simple. and Ukraine reminds Russia of this math every night. How many oil depot losses can Russia withstand? How long can Ukraine sustain this strategy? What wins modern wars, technology or economics? Is asymmetric warfare the future of modern conflict? The flames are still burning in Volgograd. In Kiev, lights are flickering back on in the darkness, and the world is watching. The new rules of 21st century warfare are being written, not with hypersonic missiles, with cheap drones, not with a technological show, with an economic checkmate. The answers are uncertain, but the questions are clear, and every night, both sides are writing their own answers, with flames,